Hi, welcome to my channel. My name is Darren Bartlett and I love discussing African affairs, especially when it comes to the current affairs that's happening on the continent. Now, this year is full-blown of democratic decisions. Just the other day, Guinea went to vote for a new constitution, which many term as a controversial one, but we don't know whether that is going to happen or not. Chad is planning on removing term limits. So they're progressing, and that's also a democratic decision. In Tanzania, they just completed the nominations of the presidential candidates, and next month they'll be having a new president voted in, because none is there. Even the current president there was not voted in as a direct president. She was a vice president. Malawi, which I want to speak to, just concluded their presidential elections, and here's the most interesting thing. Yes, the results are not yet out. However, the results put the former president Peter Mutharika ahead of Chakwera Lazarus, who is the current president. And here's the most interesting thing. Peter Mutharika was a president, and then that was after Joyce Banda, and then Chakwera Lazarus comes, beats Peter Mutharika in a runoff to become the president of Malawi. It means that the elections were so tight. The competition was really, really, really tight. And now the two go again in the same race, and Peter is now leading. However, you must get 51 or 50 plus 1 to be able to win the presidency. But you know, that is upon the Electoral Commission of Malawi to announce the next president of Malawi. So this is not an announcement, but we're just talking about the provisional results that we have so far. But after counting all the votes of the people who have voted for the next president, then it will be easy to tell who is going to be the leader of Malawi. But what does this mean? If Peter Mutharika becomes the next president of Malawi, it's going to be a case of, because I watched a political analyst in Malawi sometime when the nominations were just done. I wish I could remember his name. And he predicted, by the way, he said there's a likelihood that people are going to prefer to go back to Peter because they have tested his regime. And then Lazarus has had much more, in his words, much more of excuses than he actually has delivered. I wouldn't say either, because, I mean, what kind of economy did he take over? And he also had his own plans. I remember in 3 months time that Lazarus Chakwera had been in power, there were people striking, saying that he had promised them jobs. There was a protest on the streets for the promises that have not yet been fulfilled. And I remember speaking on TV at the time, and I said, it is not possible. And I don't know why presidential candidates or any political leaders do the same. Making promises of what you're going to do in 100 days. And journalists tend to trap candidates in this position where they tell you, what are you going to be doing in 100 days? And I don't know where we copied this from, but I'm sure we copied it from America or the Western media or culture of the way they do things, that in the 100 days there must be impact. The same way we saw what Trump did. He signed the highest number of executive orders on one day. Day one after swearing in, he was already signing executive orders, and things like that. And indeed, in 100 days, we knew where Trump was standing in his policy. Now, the same culture is always thrown to presidential candidates or even political leaders in different, units. Is it as a mayor or anything like that? They usually, depending on, not even depending on any elective position, media tends to put people on that kind of pressure, and it happens as well. The whole of Africa, they ask you what you've done in 100 days. In fact, after 100 days, you see newspapers coming out to talk about what has been done in 100 days. But some of these things are very impossible, because when you take over a regime that has just left, you tend to find things are not in order the way you thought they are. You will find diplomatic agreements that for you to do A, B, C, D, or for us to give you money, you must have done A, B, C, D, which then stops you from doing what you will have done as a leader. And so many other disorganized things that you might find in power that do not align with what you thought you would do. And then eventually people get disappointed in you in 1 year, 2 years, or something like that. So I think that people who believe that Peter probably did a better job than Chakwera, we need to understand, what did Chakwera take over from Peter? Was it a good deal or a bad deal? Did he find it disorganized? And I'm not campaigning for him. I'm just saying that the judgment against him came so fast, and the political analysts went too hard on him. On this one, they say he has failed on the economy, inflation has gone up, there's so many, there's been cholera cases, but some of these are really the hand of God. But well, that will be the decisions of the Malawians. But we'll talk about Guinea, we'll talk about Chad a little later, and also Tanzania, which is about to go to the polls in next month. That means in 2 weeks' time, we shall be knowing what's going to be happening there. But also don't forget that in Uganda, today being the 23rd of September and tomorrow 24th, the Electoral Commission is going to officially nominate the presidential candidates for the 2026 elections that's going to be happening. So it's going to be tense, and I'll bring you that update here on Darren Bartlett channel. So, subscribe so that you don't miss out.